Let us pray. May the words of my mouth, may the meditations of all of our hearts, and may the powers of our pens be acceptable in your sight. O Lord, you are our strength. You are our Redeemer. You are our encourager. Amen. Today is Pentecost Sunday. We usually hear the story from Acts 2 about how disciples, Jews from many, many nations around the Middle East, came together in Jerusalem and heard Peter and the disciples talk about Jesus, and how each understood and carried the message back in their own languages from the places where they had come from. They gave Maria a break, not having to read about the Parthians and Medes and all the other places where people came from, not hearing that story today, but people carry their messages back to long, long distances. What we're going to do today, however, is to focus on what happens when that Spirit has already been received, and when it calls us to live out the essential tenets that Jesus preached to his disciples, that they then taught to all of those people. Love God and love your neighbor as yourself. When we consider ourselves, as the book by Bishop Tutu does, when we consider ourselves global neighbors, we are called to take that love as far around the world as possible. And when we try to take that love and be a loving neighbor all across the world, sometimes that can feel daunting. How do we even begin to do that? That's why I appreciate organizations like Bread for the World who spur us to advocate and also to help us focus our advocacy. For me, it is nice to read about or hear about what Bread for the World is doing in Washington, D.C., and for and with those around the world. And it helps for me to know that there's a specific task that I can do to help make the world a better place. So as Maria read to us out of 1 Corinthians, the Spirit does indeed activate each of us in different ways. Sometimes, often, we are pushed by the Spirit to act outside of our comfort zones, or even what we may consider outside of our gift sets. And sometimes, often, we may feel like our voice doesn't even matter. And yet, as we saw in that first video, that the woman, Connie Wick, wrote her letter to Senator Lugar, explaining what she felt was a need to change legislation. And by the president of Bread for the World being at a meeting with President Bush and talking to President Bush as he finished speaking, President Bush felt moved to take the president of Bread for the World back over to Senator Lugar and to tell the story. At this point, we don't know anything about Connie Wick. But then, as the president of Bread for the World is talking to Senator Lugar, something clicks and he remembers the letter that Connie Wick sent to him. And he's able to say, oh yes, I know what you're talking about because one of my constituents wrote me a letter. One person's letter reached all the way up, even to the level of the president, as he was listening to their conversation. So I want to play for you the next video about why we do the offering of letters, and I want you to see some stories that may even have a little resonance for what we're doing in this congregation. This small place, which may not feel like it has a voice that can reach the highest of heights, and yet we're going to find a story that's very similar to one that's in here. As you watch the video, I'm going to ask you to listen for what little bits you might like to put in your own letter as you write a letter to Congress about why there needs to be change in our legislation about how we give foreign aid. So maybe take a couple of notes if you need to while we watch this segment.
We are moved by God's grace in Jesus Christ to help our neighbors.
We have to really see everyone as our sister, our brother.
As Christians, that's our goal, that we do other things and we do good things for the benefit of everybody else.
This year, Bread for the World's offering of letters is giving Americans the chance to make a real difference for hungry and poor people by handwriting letters asking Congress to make U.S. foreign assistance more effective.
The Foreign Assistance Act, which governs U.S. foreign aid, was written back in 1961. It needs to be updated for the 21st century. Bread for the World's 2011 offering of letters urges Congress and the President to work together to make U.S. foreign aid more effective in reducing poverty.
We need a stronger U.S. government focus on reducing poverty, clearer accountability for how U.S. foreign assistance dollars are spent and their results, a transformed U.S. development agency, and U.S. foreign assistance that meets the needs and wants of local people. U.S. foreign assistance is crucial to countries like Liberia, where 2 successive civil wars have pushed its people even more deeply into poverty.
Imagine a country that for the last 2 decades has been disrupted by war, coups, and different kinds of upheaval. This is where the help we get from U.S. foreign aid goes a long way.
With the help of U.S. foreign assistance, Liberian cocoa farmer David Kapan is making great strides to lead his family out of poverty after years of civil war.
We're only concerned about our life, our survival. So the whole place we are burning and became a big bush.
David's cocoa farm is up and running again, and he's doing better than ever, thanks to special training from ACDI Boca, an organization partly funded by U.S. foreign assistance.
I'm able to produce good quality and to get good price. I get better price than ordinary farmers, to be frank. Because I prepare good cocoa and therefore I get good price for it.
Today, there's a global demand for the high-grade cocoa beans needed to make chocolate. Liberia isn't among the world's top 5 cocoa producers yet, but it has potential if it improves the quality of its cocoa beans. So David learned state-of-the-art harvesting, fermenting, and drying techniques to enhance his cocoa.
The fermentation is important because that will give flavor to the cocoa.
The organization also helped David and other cocoa growers form a farmers association, which means they can negotiate better prices for their beans.
First in the history of my cocoa production, I was able to get $2 per kilogram last year. So for that reason, the little money I got, I was able to buy a motorbike.
It might seem like a frivolous purchase, but owning a motorbike saves David the high cost of hiring a car to take his cocoa to the warehouse. U.S. foreign assistance also funded the training David received to run his farm as a business. Now he keeps detailed records so he can measure his progress each year. That's how he knows he's more than doubled his income. But for David, there's only one real measure of his family's progress. He can now pay for all of his school-aged children to attend school.
Where do baby come from?
Education education is especially important to David, since he's also a teacher and principal of the local school. But now he makes less teaching than he does farming.
How well I'm doing? Number one, my children are not hungry. Number two, they are going to school. And number three, at least I'm able to clothe them. You will not see them born again.
Effective U.S. foreign assistance helps families like David's become self-sufficient, no longer just surviving, but prospering. U.S. foreign assistance could benefit millions more people if it's better coordinated. Today, U.S. foreign assistance is scattered over 12 departments, 25 different agencies, and nearly 60 government offices, leading to one big tangle of inefficiency.
Too often, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. At a time like this, we need to make the best possible use of our tax dollars in response to the needs of poor and hungry people.
We need better coordination, more flexibility, greater accountability, and closer partnerships with local non-governmental organizations, known as NGOs, to get help to the people who need it most. And nowhere is help needed as urgently as in Haiti, where emergency relief for last year's earthquake is now shifting toward reconstruction.
There are similarities between Haiti and Liberia. Both countries had a string of unsuccessful governments. Both countries were hit by devastating events. In Haiti, an earthquake; in Liberia, a war. It is in this instance that foreign aid can actually help to make the country better.
Last year's earthquake badly damaged Haiti's banking system. Foncosé is Haiti's alternative bank for the poor. It's an NGO that's giving poor Haitians access to credit and protecting their meager savings. With U.S. foreign assistance and support from U.S. churches, Foncosé has provided small loans to more than 45,000 of the country's poorest women. Women like Rosamond Charles. They use the money mostly to start businesses, so they can become self-reliant and lift their families out of poverty. NGOs like Foncosé also provide needed services when the government isn't able to. It's a model the Haitian government could follow as it rebuilds the country. Foncosé offers nutrition screening, health education, and literacy classes to help their borrowers succeed. Writing is something most of us take for granted, but the letter you write to Congress today can win lasting changes for millions of people like Rosamond and David.
Grassroots advocacy for a Christian should be like breathing. The offering of letters combines the power of the pen and the power of prayer, and Congress really does pay attention. A simple handwritten letter can literally change somebody's life.
But children, I want them to all be educated, and when I'm old, you'll be able to take care of me, and some to take care of my farm.
Haiti and Liberia, like many developing countries, have great potential for progress right now. But how far each can go will depend largely on how we can make U.S. foreign assistance more effective, more accountable, more responsive to the needs of local people, and more focused on reducing hunger and poverty.